I think, Chair, before I ask the questions, the point I want to make is as people who interact with a lot of students across the country, it's very painful to hear that there are dead people who are receiving NSFAS allowances, people who are not studying, people who don't even belong to those institutions. Yet you get students who are sleeping outside at CPUT, you get students who are not funded. So yeah, I was taken aback by that. I think there must be a certain level of humanity that some of these public officials must have, both in government and even some of these businesses who are doing business with the state. But anyway, I want to find out from the SIU. So when you investigate, you look for prima facie evidence, or what exactly is the scope of your investigation? I'll just go through all of these questions very quickly. I noted some of them yesterday. And then when you hand over, how do you decide whether or not you're going to make something a civil referral or criminal case? I believe you make a distinction between the two. And then what is the scope of your special tribunal? Can you open a case to the South African Police Services? Can someone from the committee or any member, because I know you also work through proclamations, which I believe come from the state president. But I wonder if, because I heard you speak about whistleblowers a lot, I wonder if civilians, or if not civilians, at least members of this committee or members, public officials somewhere can approach the SIU to look at criminality in one or two public institutions. Can someone use I hope you're noting these down, I'm just rushing through my bullet points to save time. Can someone use the outcomes of your investigation to open a case with the South African Police Services? Because I believe sometimes, and I think the honorable member who spoke before me made the point that you can be overwhelmed by the many cases of corruption in the country, that sometimes you'll investigate, you'll come up with findings, then maybe you give to the NPA and there's not much that happens. Can someone pick that case up because you are dealing with other things? And then what happens when you don't get feedback from the NPA? Does the case just die there, or is there another measure that you can take or we can take to help strengthen the work of the SIU? And then on page 33, on sellbacks, you spoke about that you cannot find out if the money was used correctly. Can you please go deeper into that? What exactly do you mean by that? And then you spoke about some officials in the Department of Higher Education and Training who are doing business with the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. I'd imagine that should be a quick investigation. I could be naive. Please help me to understand that, because I think you'd find out the company, look at the directors or something like that. I don't know. But please explain further on that. Chair, I think you dealt with the issue of interest very well, so I won't speak about that. And then when you say for the PCETA that there were 16 applications and only 20, but rather 20 of them were captured, what does that mean exactly? Are those ghost applications? Because I think you make a comment there that it could be an error, but what type of an error is that? I mean, if there are 16 applications, then I've got 16 applications here, and I captured 20 of them. I don't understand how that can be an error. So can you please explain further, what exactly do you mean by that, and that you cannot trace them? And then when you say you've got students who have received allowances or have received monies from the NSF, the CETAs and whatever, but you can't reach them, can you also please explain what you mean by that? Is it that they exist and you have been trying to find them, you can't reach them by call or cell phone? Or when you say you can't trace them, do you mean even the ID numbers, you are not sure if such students even exist? So I think those are the questions I had, and I tried to rush through them quickly so that I can give other members an opportunity to ask. So I hope you managed to capture all of them. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Lonzi.
Oh, thank you, Chair. I won't be long. I did miss the intro. My name is Sihle Lonzi, from the Economic Freedom Fighters, as you can see. Thank you, Chair, and sorry for abusing the platform.
No, his name is Honorable Lonzi, a member of the committee, not from the
No, Chair, I've got one question. Hopefully, it's very straightforward. How many cases have you discovered of ghost students? So students who are either dead, students who are not studying, as you have said in some of the TVETs or CJs, because I know you made specific reference to CJC, but I'm sure you've got, you've been a national overview as well. How many do you have? And how much does that total to? And the reason I'm asking this, I think it may have been insinuated by one of the members. You know, it's good that you are doing a good job in recovering the money and giving it back to NSFAS, and I think we must commend you for that. And your proposals in having an NSFAS account that will also deal with the interest aspect of it. But there's also a social cost to this, because if, for example, I know you mentioned here, take Wits University. You take 400 million back from Wits University to give back to NSFAS. All good and well, we're happy, we've recovered 400 million. But that means there are 400 million worth of students who were supposed to receive funding from NSFAS. Those students have dropped out, they've gone back home, they are sleeping outside. So there's a social cost and interest that must also be considered. And I know this may not necessarily be in your mandate, but I wonder, as part of your reports, if it's something that you can consider, or if it's something that you do to say, as a result of these institutions, public institutions, and even the scheme itself, paying people that don't exist, it means that X number of students were affected by this criminality, and as a result, society has lost out, on impacting the lives of these young people and how they are able to contribute into the economy. So you're doing a good job in terms of recovering, but that's the financial aspect. But there's also a social and societal aspect that I think we don't speak enough about. So I think those are my questions. How many, what is the round amount? And maybe give me your comments on the social cost of what does it mean when WITS gives you back 400 million when there are students who are supposed to be funded by WITS University. Thank you.
The CJC investigation and whether we have picked up any ghost students. So how we define a ghost student is that you would find that they say Lucas is a student at a certain institution, and Lucas as a person does not exist at all. That's how we define a ghost student. What happened in terms of the CJC was that you'd find that a student would come in at year 1, and unfortunately during year 1 that student would pass away. But the institution would continue to claim for the student in year 2 and year 3. So in year 2 and year 3, that student would be seen as a ghost student, because remember in year 1 they would have passed away. What should have happened in the system was immediately when that happens, the institution should have let NSFAS know to say that from the cohort of students, unfortunately there's 1 or 2 that has passed away, so that NSFAS stops disbursing funds for those students. So in the case of CJC, when those students passed away or they left, they continue to claim. Because immediately when we come to CJC and we're looking for that student is not there. That student is a ghost. But you might find that one, they've passed away, or they've gone to another institution. But the funds that keep initial registration. Because in the life of a student, you'd find that the student says, no, I'm going to study, is from Limpopo, I'm going to study in KZN. That's where they found space. But they realize that they don't want to be far from home. But remember that institution in KZN would have submitted that student that they are claiming for them. The student will then move to a separate institution. But what would happen is then NSFAS would keep paying from the old to the old institution. And sometimes they would pay both sides. They would pay to the old institution and they would pay to the new institution. But when we go investigate, we can't pick up this student at the old institution. Sometimes, like I said, they've actually passed away, but sometimes they've changed. That's where they would then say they are ghost. But we haven't found instances where there is a person that never existed that was in the system. So we agree on the social impact of for the students, because remember the whole point of the scheme is to assist struggling students who can't afford higher education. But if you take a student that is struggling to afford higher education and you put them in the system, but you do not ensure that by the time they finish their degree at year 3 or year 4,